Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AI modules update number 5 video showing you what's going to be included in 5, how to use it, etc. I created a video called An Introduction to the AI module that showed you our vision for what we hoped to build in it. And with update 5 comes a whole bunch of those features. We're pretty close to, I would say, being feature complete, where the core foundation is there. There's a lot of work to do on them, but most of the core features are there. So my name is Jamie. I am a maintainer of the AI module, and I am a co-founder of Freely Give, where we have been working for a while on AI and native Drupal CRM. And today with me is Frederick.
Hi.
Could you introduce yourself?
I'm Frederick, and I'm also active in the AI issue queue. And I'm really thankful to my company, Calibrate, for allowing me some time to work on it.
Cool. And what we're going to do is we're going to split this up into 3 parts. This should be a shorter, just brief intro to all the features and where they are and how to enable them. And then 2 of the more larger functions are automators and search. We've created part 2 and 3 where we'll go in detail how to use automators and in detail how to get started with AI search. We definitely found with Search API AI, a lot of people struggled getting the database set up, how you import things in, etc. So now we have a complete video you can take a look, and me and Frederick go and build something, and he asks some questions. So firstly, we're going to be talking, I'll just quickly tell you which are the features. We've got this AI CKeditor, AI content that will help you whilst you're writing content, AI translate, simple one-click AI-powered translations, and AI validations. Frederick's going to talk you through them a little bit whilst I click. But these have been things that he's particularly worked on a lot. And it's really great to get up and running with AI on your site straight away. We're also going to talk about AI automators, which did come out in update 4, very briefly. And then it says in dev right now, but in update 5, we're going to have assistants, AI search, and chatbots. So, firstly, you're going to want to install the AI module, update number 5. And we'll see all these modules here. We've got AI core, validations, translate, CKeditor, content. Then you'll need these 2 for AI search. You'll need some providers, and you'll need these ones, again, for AI search and a provider. And what you see here is an Umami site, and we've got everything set up in Umami so you can be familiar with what you are doing. So the first thing is, this is, do you want to talk us through what we can see here? And then I'll show you how we can get things set up.
Yeah, so on top of the CKeditor window here, you see the AI assistant there. If you open it up, you see there's a number of features that you can use to generate or improve your content inside of the CKeditor. Before we are going to start with the examples, let's first set it up, Jamie. Let's go to the window where you can manage your CKeditor. So if you have your text formats and editors here, then you can configure one of those. So you can take, for example, full HTML here. And then you drag the AI assistant icon, which is on the left side there, into the active toolbar. And then you need to do some extra configuration on the bottom. There's the AI tools. There you can choose to enable each of those submenus. You can enable and disable each of them. In the case of the tone of voice, there we need to have first a list of tone of voices. In the previous OpenAI module, there was example, explain like I'm 5, polite and others. With this module, you can have the complete control and you can create a taxonomy where you have the tones of voices defined. This is what you select here. We're not going to do languages, but we're going to select tone of voices for AI. You can also choose allow autocreate to generate new ones. We're going to also allow the summarization in the CKeditor. You can continue. We also have the completion. We want to have completion, which is just you type in a prompt and it will generate output. And then we also want to be able to translate content in the CKeditor as well. To be able to translate, you also need to set up a number of languages, which in this case is also a taxonomy tree with a number of languages in there. That's the configuration. After saving, you will see the assistant as we showed it in the previous window.
Yeah, and just about that. So as we can see, we had to create those languages. so it's not automatically gathered from the site. This is very much a work in progress. We've had previous versions of it working that were really nice and easy to use, but harder to configure. We've started making them easier to configure, but you have to now put a little bit more effort to get them out of the box. It's going to be back and forth, us figuring out the correct level of that. So this is there for Alpha 5. You can start trying, try it all out, but definitely join us in the issue queues to start experimenting with different levels of this. And in fact, because it's an abstraction layer, we really welcome people creating their own submodules based on this. So you could try and do CKeditor plugins yourself in a completely different way if you have any, preferences there.
Yeah. Then on the right side of the window, you here see that there is a number of new things like analyze text, adjust content tone, summarize text, suggest content title, and suggest taxonomy. You can also configure these in the backend by choosing which model is used behind each of these features. So if you go to the AI module and then find this menu, you will see that you can choose the model for each of these functionalities.
Yeah.
And I think here, that's correct. I think now we can show how it works, right? So let's first use the AI assistant to generate a text. Do you have a prompt ready for us, Jamie?
Yeah. So
you do generation. It's called completion, and you just paste in the text, your prompt. So you have write new story about blah, blah, blah. And then you click the generate button, and it will use the AI that you've configured to generate the text. This can be OpenAI, but it can also be Mistral or whatever other AI that you have. And then you have...
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, sorry about this. So we don't have streaming yet. That's going to come. At the moment, it just gives you the whole thing. It used to have streaming. There's some reasons why it's a little bit complicated, but that will be coming.
Mm-hmm. And then you paste it in. And then with the AI assistant, you can also summarize this because your editor might think this is a bit of a long text. Rather make it a bit shorter. You can go to the AI assistant and then click on summarize, for example, or change the tone of voice.
Let's do tone.
Let's do tone. So it will change the tone of voice of the text. And then clicking the save changes to editor.
So you can see deep within the heart of bustling tech power, tirelessly crafted innovative websites. Deep within the heart, the Drupal automator labored over websites, struggling to blend advanced functionality. So save changes. There we go. Constant hurdles, much more pessimistic.
Yeah. This gives you, as an editor, real control over what kind of tone of voice you want your text to have. And then on the right side, for example, let's say we want to generate a title for this text. You can, for example, can you press the suggest content title tab on the right and suggest a content title based on the body field? And maybe also similarly, you have the suggest title or taxonomy terms, and it will suggest you a number of taxonomy terms based on the text that you write. And you can then choose to use them or not use them for your content.
Cool. Again, these are going to get worked on. There's going to be more ways in which you'll be able to edit them. We're figuring out to what degree they just pop in, what degree we use automators. Do we want to use translate here?
Yeah, that makes a nice bridge. Or let's say generated in English, you want it in Spanish. You can have it using the languages here. Yeah.
Here we go.
Generate Spanish text. Cool. Talking about translations, there might be another demo that we want to do. So if your content is multilingual, like this haikus we created here, can you refresh the page once, Jamie, to see if we have the Spanish translation still? No. Okay, perfect. So there in the translate tab on the top.
I want that random words.
On the top, you see the translate tab. If you click there and the content hasn't been translated yet, there is now a new action that you can use, translate using AI. which also uses the AI that you've configured as default in your AI settings form. And so just by clicking the button, it will generate the Spanish version for this content.
And to add to that, so it's very simple in terms of the configuration. You just need to have other things set up. So you'll need to have translation enabled on your site, and then you need to set a default setting. It's very good as a starting point. If you go to AI settings, default providers, providing default settings does make a lot of things easier, because then a lot of these modules can just assume that.
Yeah, it's also not the goal to be the complex translation thing, because there's other modules like translation management that do complex translations, but this is just to provide editors with a simple translated version of the content.
Cool.
About features, there is going to be support for paragraphs and layout builder in the future. We're working on that, so that you can have like a full paragraph or layout builder created page, and all the layout builder blocks and paragraphs will be translated to the new language.
Cool. I'm going to translate this back into English for our next one. Yeah, so the next thing, do you want to introduce what it is? It is...
validations, yeah. So you can also use the language model to validate the content that people input into fields in your Drupal. And there we're building upon the existing field validation module, and we've added AI rules there. So if you here add a new field validation rule set, we can now choose our content. Let's take, which content were we going to take?
Basic pages. So I'm actually going to save changes to the editor. I'm going to save this basic page, and then we're going to try and, so it's not done with any validation. And then we're going to add in validation to it and see what happens. So we go to, structure, field validation, entity type content, basic page, create new field validation rule set.
And then you select the field you want to validate. In this case, I think it's a body field. And then the rule, which will be the AI text prompt constraint, which is a new rule. So it's on the top, the second one. Yeah. And then we're going to add in the prompt. So the rule title is just an administrative name for the rule. And then the field column, because it's rich text, you select the value. Default value is good. And then with the prompt here, you see you can only answer with X true or X false. That's because maybe in content there might be true or false. Take the following input and check if it mentions Queen Elizabeth. Voila, that's that. We're going to check for Drupal content. And then the message actually says, okay, this message is invalid. This is the message that says, okay, this content doesn't cover Drupal, or it's not mentioning Drupal. And this is the error message that end users will see if the validation fails.
Maybe I'll keep it simple. Let's just keep it to automated. Mention Drupal.
And that's actually all you need to configure to have the validations working.
Cool. Add rule. So this is obviously very powerful, because normally when we did validation, it would be based around things that were very true or false, specific things, specific numbers, etc. This now means that we can do validation based around a feel or something that you can reason with or understand. So yeah, should we try it out? So let's click save.
Then save this one, but it will work because it's already mentioning Drupal in the content. I think if you want it to fail, then you'll need to generate something random about food, and then it will probably fail.
Okay, so let's do generate a recipe about cheese. And then this one is not going to succeed. Yeah, I think there's just so many different ways in which this will be helpful for workflows, for creating content, because you can now do it based around anything that you could think about. Yeah, let's save changes. Okay, it's a bit of a mess, but let's try and click save. This content doesn't mention Drupal. It worked perfectly. So yeah, that's great. And thanks so much for your help in getting those in. And I'm looking forward to see where these things develop. Now, those were the 4 new content-based ones. And then there's these 2 very big modules, submodules, that are used as an underlying structure. So that is this AI automators and AI search. So as I said before, we're going to be go into more detail about that in the next 2 videos. But automators is a tool that allows you to chain together multiple, we're calling them automators. It's kind of prompts, but actually you can use more than just AI to do very complex and interesting full AI applications. So in Umami, you're used to the fact that it has recipes. And in order to edit a recipe, you're going to have to go in and just type in everything. But we thought, wouldn't it be cool if you could just do it with AI? So we have a recipe book here, and you can see eggplant and chicken pizza, and it's just a PDF. And we created a automated chain that allows you to just type in the recipe name by copy and pasting the one that you want to deal with, add in the file, you click save, and instead it will just generate everything for you without having to do anything. And this is one that we generated earlier using AI. And the way you're going to do that is when you install the automator module, it comes with a whole bunch of automators, which are like these robots that have an ability to do something. But you can add other ones like web scraping or reading files. And you're going to have something when you go to manage fields that things are a little bit different. So when I go to manage fields, I now can go in to, let's look at the first one where we uploaded the file. So we had an uploaded file. I'm going to scrape everything. So if I click edit that, I can click this button, enable AI automator. I can choose what kind of automator I want. In this case, it was file to text. I can choose which field it came from, this upload. And then I click save and it's going to pull everything in. And there's some advanced settings. Or I could use AI to do it. And so, for example, I'm going to use AI here to write a summary. And I chose LLM text. There's a bunch of different automators. And in my next video, we'll talk about why you choose text, not simple. But this is the one that you normally want to pick. We've got an advanced mode that is using tokens to pull more information into the prompt to generate a summary. And then we click save. And then when we were to save this content here, it would then go through all of those steps and generate everything for you. And there's a whole bunch of features you can use this for helping you do research projects, for putting things into views, for summarizing videos, even creating content, like you create videos from it. And you'll find a lot more about this on Workflows of AI, where Marcus, who has helped build a lot of this, has huge number of examples of this that he's used. Do you have any other comments before I move on to search?
Yeah, one use case that you didn't mention is that it can even do migrations, where it fetches content and pulls in the data into the correct fields, and it's might be super useful.
So in part 2, I go into more detail about how to set that up and all the situations that you can do with that. So the final one is this search. And again, in part 3, I'll tell you exactly how to get everything set up. But what we have here now is a little chatbot that is powered by AI. So we did this before where I said, provide me a vegetarian option from these recipes. And this is the recipes on the site. And it gave me, based on the provided recipes, here are vegetarian options. Super easy vegetarian pasta. But for example, let's imagine that I really like this Thai green curry. And I want to view this. And I say, I really like the Thai green curry, but I hate soy, tofu, and I'm vegetarian. Can you suggest me alternatives? That's going to work in the background. Again, streaming will come. But you can see here, this has chicken and tofu as an option, and it has fish sauce. And I'll let that work on in the background, whilst you're doing things. Now, to get this set up, we're going to go into more detail about that later. But for now, you're going to need your own new database. So we have something called Milvus that we support. Okay, there you go. Okay, in this case, it didn't have enough information, but it does provide other ingredients. So you're going to need Milvus is the database to set these things up. And then if you want to sell, this is open source that you can self-host, or you can use Zilits for a SaaS version to store all the data that you've dealt with. We use Search API to power the search behind this LLM. So you can see here, I've got some servers set up. I've got some indexes set up. So if I go to one of these servers for this here, you can see here I've got Milvus. There's a bunch of different settings here, which I explain later. And then I can set up an index. And this is very similar to normal Search API API, where I can set, I'm going to use content as my data source. I can set up all my fields. I'm going to index. What this thing called embeddings is versus string, again, we'll explain in part 3. And that sets up the database for doing this semantic search. But, before I move on, any questions about that, Frederick?
No, not like, I think it's super powerful having the possibility to search in a semantic way, like in your content is super powerful.
Cool. And then these assistants, this is where it's all the configuration behind that search bot and how it works. So if I edit this, I've told its role. I've enabled RAG and told me the database that I'm going to look up things on. And then I've got this whole pre-prompt where it's going to take the user question. It's going to take what the AI search has found inside the database. All these things here for making it do formatting, how it gives the answer. And then the LLM provider that it sends you. And then finally, that's all the configuration. Finally, you have to have a front end on it. So this one is just a bot block, but there's a bunch of different ways to do it. So you can see we've got this recipe assistant block where we configure it. We choose which assistant we're going to use. And then there's some stuff for how it looks, like the image, what pages it appears on, everything you can imagine about blocks. This is something that we're going to be working on a lot. So this is the first front end that we provided, but there's a lot we can do to improve it. It looks like a chatbot, but it doesn't actually have any history for now. So it can't know anything it said to you before. And there's a lot of ways in which we want to improve this, like have a full screen chatbot, have one in the sidebar, etc. So those are going to come. But now with update number 5, you can do it yourself. Zillis is free, so you can get started demoing things as a dev without having to pay anything, without having to set anything up on your server. So yeah, that's for update 5. So thank you for listening to this talk. We're going to show in part 2, as I said, AI automators, where we're going to build what we showed you today in a lot of detail so you could do it yourself. And similarly with AI search, we're going to go through all the steps you need to do to make AI search work on your site. And in that one, we're going to show both a project browser that helps you recommend modules, as well as the recipe one that we showed you today. Do you have any closing comments?
I think the ecosystem is evolving super fast. It's certainly valuable if you want to incorporate AI in your module, that you have a look at the AI core module and how it's used. There are some, and the Explorer as well. There's some interesting stuff in there, and that we are easily reachable in the Slack channel.
Yeah, as I've said, so this is our module. If you have any questions, you can post an issue, or at the bottom here, you can see #AI and the Drupal Slack is a place where we're going to be around a lot. So thank you. We're hoping to have a beta out. We'll have an Alpha 6 first, and then a beta out around about September. So we would really welcome any testing, any comments, any other ideas of how you want to get things working. Thank you. Speak to you soon.